What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I'm bringing you another Blue Eyes variant. Today it is the turn of Blue Eyes Rank 8. So to utilise the Rank 8 the most in this particular build, we are going to be utilising the Horus package. The benefit is that the Horus package is actually a really small addition to the deck, so it's not that heavily reliant on the Horus engine itself in order to get where it needs to go. On top of that as well, there is a way to bridge from the Blue Eyes into the Horus engine through Ancient Fairy Dragon, which is really kind of cool for the consistency. Overall as well, if you don't go all the way through the rank 8s, the Horus can provide you additional forms of aggression, as well as being able to give you additional forms of recursion from the graveyard as well. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. I'm going to dive headfirst into the profile, show you what we've got, and explain why we've got it as always. So starting off with the Blue Eyes lineup, pretty standard on this one, 2 Blue Eyes and 1 Jet Dragon. Obviously, one of your main focuses will be more so trying to turn your non-level 8 monsters that are effect monsters into level 8 Blue Eyes monsters, mainly something like a Jet Dragon off of the back of your Sage, and that's kind of what you want to help to do in order to increase your rank 8 consistency, because you want to make sure that not both of your Blue Eyes are locked under an XYZ monster. One being locked under is okay because that would be the first material you detach, but if you get 2 locked under, it can become a little bit tricky to start using stuff like True Light and looping back from True Light into Maiden and everything else in between. Then we've got 3 Maiden of White, pretty standard on this one, alongside your 3 Sages with Eyes of Blue. Still playing the 1 Master, I still feel that it's a really kind of cool other additional level 1 option. Your other level 1s that you do play in the deck are Effect Veiler, so that is your hand trap, whereas this one's just kind of a nice option. If you don't get access to a second Sage off of the back of your wishes, you can go for a Master, and that will help you extend your plays that little bit further forward. For the spell cards, of course, triple Wishes for Eyes of Blue, followed up by the 1 Mausoleum, Roar, True Light, and Majesty. All relatively straightforward on particular Blue Eyes builds. This doesn't really need to change a huge amount unless you want to adapt something due to personal preference. Then moving on to the Horus engine. So for the Horus engine, you can play more if you want to, but you want to be maxing out on your Imseti, because the whole idea behind that is Imseti will lead you into your King's Sarcophagus. And then the only other Horus monster we play is the 1 Happy. Now you can play the other 2 if you wish, and it is something that I am considering. I just didn't want the Horus engine to be too dominant, because the idea is you either want to see your Imseti or you want to bridge into the walls of the Imperial Tomb through your Ancient Fairy Dragon, which will then lead you into your Imseti. Imseti gets you to your King Sark. Now obviously this one isn't designed for the grind game, as we are only playing the 1 King Sarcophagus, so if our opponent does destroy it and get rid of it, we're not going to be able to grind push much further from that point on. But the idea is if you wanted to, you could play a second King Sark. However, the walls of the Imperial Tomb act as a second King Sark anyway, so it's not the end of the world if this does get stopped, as long as you get access to this. And more times than not, you'll get access to this, not need to worry about sending stuff from grave as much as you want to, or this will then facilitate the ability to send to the graveyard. And then once you've got your Happies and your Imsetis in the graveyard, King Sark can still be destroyed and you still get left with the walls of the Imperial Tomb, as it still acts and treats itself as King Sark while on the field, meaning Imseti and Happy can still keep coming back to the board. The other kind of cards that we utilise to help enhance this is the 1 Astral Kuriboh and, sorry, not 1 Astral, the 2 Astral Kuribohs. Now you can play this at 3 if you want to, and for those of you unfamiliar with Astral Kuriboh, the way it works is you'll reveal a number XYZ in your extra deck to special on this card from the hand. And if you do, this level becomes the same as that revealed monster's rank, which is really quite helpful because you're only ever really going to be revealing rank 8 monsters. Now the one big benefit of this one is it doesn't rely on the Horus engine to be utilised. All you need to do is get a Blue Eyes on the board, you reveal a rank 8 in the extra deck, summon down the Astral Kuriboh, and then make said number rank 8. The said number rank 8 you're going to want to be working towards will be something like a number 90 Galaxy if you're worried about monster effects, or in an ideal scenario you'll also go for your Hope Harbinger if you're worried about spell effects. Now the additional benefit that Astral Kuriboh gives the monster that it makes is that it can't be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effect. Now because this is an effect that gets given to it, it's one thing that a lot of opponents might forget is they're like, oh cool, Raigeki, and you're like, yeah, no, it doesn't get destroyed. Or Lightning Storm, yeah, no, it doesn't get destroyed. Or they'll try and kill it by battle because they have to be redirected, or Hope Harbinger can redirect the attack to it, and you go, yeah, no, it can't be destroyed by battle. So it's a nice little inherited effect that the Astral Kuriboh gives it that can make it a little bit awkward to deal with. And then like I said, it doesn't rely on the Horus engine to be utilised. You could just generally play this. If you like, I just want to play a rank 8 Blue Eyes version and I don't want to play the Horus cards, you could just play 3 Astral Kuribohs and that will still give you the ability to get where you need to go. Unfortunately, it's not a level 1 light tuner, otherwise, happy days, it would have been massively searchable. Then for the hand traps, relatively straightforward on this one. So Ash Blossoms, Effect Veilers, Ghost Ogres, 1 Bestial Magnamute, 1 Druid Swarm, triple Infinite Impermanence, and then because there was space in the main deck, you can choose to cut them out if you want to. I like the idea of triple Crossout Designator. Now the one thing that I would highly consider for this deck, if your environment is main deck and Draw Unlock Bird, you would main deck at least 1 copy of Draw Unlock Bird. Like, you can play around the Biru quite easily if you get access to your Horus engine, because you kind of put your opponent in a position of, as soon as I get the field spell off of the Ancient Fairy Dragon, I then get my 2 monsters that the next threat I make is going to be a rank 8 in the form of the number 90, and at that point I haven't used my additional normal summon, unless I have used my additional normal summon and I still have wishes, I still have access to True Light. Like, I don't have to go through those in order to get the board that I want to present or to work my way into the Horus cards. And you kind of vibe check your opponent where you go, okay, now I've got 2 level 8s on the board. The possibility of me making number 90 now says to my opponent, you need to nib me now, otherwise I'm going to make a negate for it. If they don't nib you at that point, you can be a little bit more risky and go, right, well, I'll make Hope Harbinger instead now that I don't need to worry about Nibiru. Or you then go straight into the number 90 Galaxy, you still have True Light to revive or search you out your wishes, which can still lead you into another level 9 if you want to, depending on what other extensions you have. So you can main deck a Nibiru target if you wanted to. Honestly, I don't think you need to. I feel that you can pilot the deck very easily around Nibiru quite nicely, so it is entirely up to you. I would consider Draw Unlock Bird for the pure fact that Blue Eyes want to search, and so does the Horus cards. So if you get hit with a Draw Unlock Bird early doors after you activate something like an Imseti, that's where it get a little bit awkward. So for that, you could then sub out Ghost Ogres if they're not effective in the environment. You could cut out the Bestials again if they're not effective in the environment, and you would adapt it there. I'll show you the side deck at the end of the video just to go and give you another couple of options you can put in the extra deck as well. But the idea behind that is Draw Unlock Bird would be one I'd either highly consider main decking or just siding it in. And the last card we play is the one Pot of Prosperity. This does make it 41 cards, so you can cut out Pot of Prosperity if you want to. There are just some times where Prosperity comes up very nicely, and I'm like, cool, I've been able to dig certain things. It can clash with your Imseti, because then it means you can't draw the Imseti or use the Imseti's hand effect. So that's one thing you will need to consider, which is why it's on the cusp of whether you keep it in the main deck or whether you cut it out completely. It really is entirely up to you. It's not an absolute staple. It's just one of the ones that I've been using it lately, and it kind of puts in a bit of work when I see it. It's kind of like that odd Call by the Grave, but then you could obviously arguably put in Call by the Grave instead. Moving into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, for our numbers that you're going to get the most benefit off of because of Astral Kuriboh, we go with number 38, Hope Harbinger. We've got the one number 90, Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord. We've got number 1, Infection Buzz King. So for those of you unfamiliar with this one, this is obviously your monster negate, this is your spell negate. This one is just basically a bit more of a win more con, but the idea is that during your standby phase, you can attach 1 card from your opponent's graveyard to this card as material. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If this card is XYZ summoned, you get to look at your opponent's extra deck and send 1 card from it to the graveyard. You can detach 1 material from this card, then target 1 card in your opponent's graveyard, one card your opponent controls and destroy it. Then if you destroy the face-up monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the attack. So it gives you a bit of burn damage, not that that's the main reason for it. It gives you knowledge of your opponent's entire extra deck, and then you take away one of their core pieces. Now obviously it's not going to be that effective in the Raziel matchup because they're usually playing 2 duo drive, and sometimes they're playing, well, they'll definitely be playing more than 1 detonator, and then sometimes they'll be playing 2 duo drive, so you're not really helping them much, and if anything, you're actually helping them by sending an XYZ to the graveyard. However, in a Malice matchup, you can take away something like their White Binder, which can make their plays a little bit more awkward. And then when you get to look at a Blue Eyes extra deck, again, you can start taking away Spirit targets if you want to. Getting rid of a Tyrant Dragon can actually be quite annoying for a Blue Eyes player because that is their way of clearing a board off. So it is an optional card, but this is one of the flex cards that I'll show you some of the other options you can play in a minute for what you can sub it out for. The last number rank 8 that we are playing is the one number 68, Sanderpod the Sky Prison. This is just one of the ones that you can utilize it if your opponent is constantly summoning from the graveyard. Yes, it stops you summoning from the graveyard, but the only thing that is really stopping is Jet Dragon coming back from the grave, or if you activate True Light to revive. So you would just make sure that when you activate True Light, you're using it to set rather than revive. So again, this is a flex spot if it doesn't fit the environment you're going to. Now the last rank 8 that we actually play in the deck is Dingirsu. I still really like it as a non-target send, and the protection from destruction can be very, very helpful off the back of something like your own True Light. So it does give you that additional option that could be quite useful. The other rank 8s that you can consider, now these are not in the main deck, or technically the extra deck, these are not involved with the actual profile, these are just some other options that I thought you would like to consider. So you can consider one of my personal favourites, the Sylvian High Protector. This is very, very niche, very, very specific, but it's the idea that it lets you put one of your opponent's cards back rather than destroying it or sending it to the graveyard. Another option is Zombie Vampire to help you extend a little bit more. This will be better if you play more Horus monsters. The exact same can be said for the Coach King Giant Trainer. This is going to be more effective if you play more Horus monsters because it'll be more consistent to make. This one again is like a bit more of a win walk on because you'll be able to get the burn damage on, which can be quite damaging, but then you also get to replenish your hand advantage, which you're going to be sending quite a lot of for the Horus monsters, which is also another reason that we only play one Horus target, meaning that at most you'll ever only really be sending one Horus monster from the deck to the grave, unless you want to send another Imseti, which you can do, but the idea is you don't want to be burning through your hand resources. Not everything is free discard fodder in the Blue Eyes deck. The last one you can also consider is the Grunix Eternity, Hyang of the Fire Kings. Just a nice little board wipe. It's generic rank 8, so you make it, board wipe, and then you start going into your other plays. Don't have to play it, which is why it's not in the actual extra deck right now, but it's just some other options you can consider. Moving on to the fusions. So for the fusions, we are of course playing the standard Neo, Blue Eyes, Ultimate, and the Tyrant Dragon. Not much more needs to be said about that. Then we're playing 2 Spirit Dragons, 1 Ancient Fairy, and 1 Crystal Wing. So Crystal Wing, as it is a level 8, can help you make your rank 8 plays. There is a level 8 target you can get off of the back of your Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, but it's the Judgment Dragon Synchro monster, and it doesn't really add anything to the board. Like, ideally what you'd want is you'd want a light dragon Synchro monster that would come to the board as a level 8, do something, and then you can use it as XYZ material. So the idea is that we're going to make Ancient Fairy Dragon, and then just any of our additional normal summons of a tuner will then make us Crystal Wing, which can help us protect as well. So you can ideally make your Crystal Wing to protect from the monster effect, which can be the Nibiru, and that's before you've even used your Horus monsters. So then you start using your Horus monsters, and they can then either make another monster negate in the number 90, or can make a number 38 Hope Harbinger, or Sandapod to deal with the graveyard. So you've got loads of different options, and then the final target is the 1 Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon. Now, other targets you can play in these positions, I would highly advise you keep Ancient Fairy Dragon regardless. Maybe you'd want to cut out 1 Spirit Dragon as this is your own real target and you would cut out the Blue Eyes Ultimate. It is entirely up to you. I would consider your Black Rose Moonlight Dragon and of course your Lightstorm Dragon. For the final monsters in the extra deck, of course, we are playing the 1 Hieratic Seals and the 2 Spirit with Eyes of Blue. Relatively standard on that, not much more changes on the Link lineup. So that's it for the entire extra deck. I'll now quickly show you a demo side deck just so you have an idea, but this is pretty standard of what I currently play in most of my side decks. So we've got your Triple Solemn Strike. I just think it's a really kind of cool option. Triple Draw and Lockbird, like I said, you can main this if you feel the environment deems it, and then you would side out something like your Ghost Ogre. Double Nibiru, again, you can main it as well and then side out some of your other hand traps. Then follow up with 2 Triple Tactics Thrust and 2 Lightning Storm with Triple Book of Eclipse. Like, Book of Eclipse is just my personal tech choice for this particular format. I just like it as a nice board breaker option. I know some people prefer Book of Moon, but then sometimes cards can't be targeted. That makes it a little bit more awkward. You can play Metal Tronus, but again, cards sometimes can't be targeted, as well as Ultimate Slayer. But then you need to start adapting your extra deck for that, and I don't feel that you have that much free space to do so. So I decided to go with Book of Eclipse. Also highly considering something like Evening Match, as I think a lot of players, like Evening Match is one of them cards that dips in and out of a format depending on how prepared a player is for it. But then against Ryzeo, it's not that great because you would do it, they would usually keep Detonator, and Detonator is still a big issue. XYZ Encore is another option that you could probably take out your Triple Tactics Frost for. You obviously got Talents as well, so it depends on what your budget allows, as I know that this is probably the most expensive cards of all of these I've shown you in the side deck. But then keeping in mind that if you're playing the Horus engine is about £70 right now, maybe a little bit more. I know that Imseti's went up crazy amount, so that's something you also need to consider when you're putting this deck together. So that's pretty much it for the entire profile. Hopefully this has given you a couple of ideas on your own build. Like I said, if you want to play rank 8 and you don't want to get tied to the Horus engine itself being stupidly expensive, is you can play less. The issue is you need Imseti to get you to King Sark to start discarding your cards. So if you were to play it on a more of a budget option and you would only play like King Sark, one of the Imperial Tomb, and then like Happy and the other 2, you could, but your consistency to get them to the graveyard can be a little bit more awkward. You would then rely on wishes to discard them a lot more, and then you could start using their effects in the graveyard to bring back when you had the field spell because it treats itself as King Sark. Alternatively, of course, like I've already mentioned, you do have the Astral Kuriboh. You can bump that up to 3 at the very least, and then that can start giving you a couple of different options in the extra deck. At the base minimum, the XYZs that I would say is your rank 8 you're going to want will be Ding, number 38, and then number 90. Everything else from that point on becomes personal preference and flexibility. Yes, of course, you can play the Indigo Eyes, but the Indigo Eyes requires 2 dragons specifically, so it made it a little bit more awkward and didn't have that bridge with the Horus monsters. So again, something you can consider, something you can play, adapt it to your own particular build. It's just something that was mentioned to me on a live stream. I thought I'd have a look into it. Apologies, I don't have the live stream chat to one side already, but if they do see this video, by all means comment down below. I'd be more than happy to give you the credit for the idea of this one, and I thought it'd be a nice little aggressive push. I do like the Horus engine. I don't think it's the best version of a Blue Eyes deck out there, but it's still a very, very good option. It can give you aggressive recursion, aggressive board presence, and worst case scenario, even if you don't make rank 8s with them and you just leave them on the board, each of the Horus monsters have their own effects, which can be very, very damaging if your opponent forgets about them. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.